There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
6 of 6. I'd like to welcome everybody to another episode of Shop Talk, where this is an appliance repair station. Off the clock techs, off the clock salesmen, off the clock business owners, off the clock technicians, anything industry related. We're off the clock. Tonight, I'd like to bring to everybody a special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to give this guest a very important introduction. You see, when I ran my first service call, I mean my very first service call, I go inside of a major appliance repair car house, and this gentleman here, Pete, takes my he says, "You're come next." I don't know anything from anything. I think that my next guest, ladies and gentlemen, kind of smelled the rookie in me and said, "You know what? I'm gonna my profession
Smelled.
to this young man, and I'm gonna lend him a hand." And for that, while now I'm a little bit more seasoned and I'm a little bit more matured, it was a duty, it's an honor, and it's an obligation to bring you somebody that I consider like my father in the appliance repair game. I'd like to introduce everybody to my brother Pete, but I call him Pops. Brother Pete, thank you for being on the show. Introduce yourself.
Well, yeah, I'm Pete, and I guess Brandon's my son. I don't know where he came from, but he came.
Pretty much.
But yeah, many, many years ago, Brandon walked into the place I was working at, and yeah, he's kind of right about that. I kind of sensed that he was a good one, a keeper, and the only reason I say that because he spoke and acted and was knowledgeable enough that I can tell that this was not one of these clowns that I deal with on a daily basis. Now, I'll let you know a little bit about my past. I'm 21 years in the military, retired, and now I've been 21 years in the business of
Thank you for your
appliance. You're welcome. 21 years of business in the appliance repair. Started off working at Sears for a couple of years. Kind of got fed up with them because they just don't care about their technicians as much as they should. And then I worked for one company, a major parts house out here. And then I left that after about 5 years with them. Went to another parts house company, did a whole bunch of years with them, almost 8. Kind of left them because couldn't get a decent pay raise for all the years I was there. And then went to a company that not only sold appliances but did repair. And I'll let you know I'm down in San Diego, and we did all high end machines. So I've seen everything high end up there. And it wasn't only that I was a parts manager, but I also did wind up, because we're a small company, installs and repairs. So I helped out with the guys when they needed an extra set of hands. And now I'm working back in another company that does parts house. So I've been doing parts more than anything else. So, I mean, I know how to work on the machines, but as far as any practical experience, with the exception of laundry, but the machines I did when I did laundry was strictly the old belt drives, and then the coupler, the direct drive machines. When all the
wigwag.
Yeah, the wig wag, which is funny. I know. One time I went to a customer's house and I looked at the machine. And I says, "You know what? You need a wig wag." And this person looked at me. She goes, "You're trying to rip me off." I go, "What do you mean I'm trying to rip you off? How the hell am I trying to rip you off? There's no such thing as a wig wag." Wait one. Came back with the little bag. What does it say on the bag? It says wig wag. Yep. So I was like, okay. So yeah, that's where I go back to in those days. And haven't done much as far as the new stuff, but then the new stuff is all computerized. It's not the same. You can troubleshoot the old days real easy because it was mechanical, and you
Hmm.
can do it in a heartbeat. Even though I must admit, when I did my first stint with the Sears, there was sometimes that, you know, I go out to a house and they had a Sears program, and they got lucky because I, new guy, trying out everything you could. I almost put in a whole new machine because I was trying to learn, and went back to the office fearing that my job was like, oh, you're going to be out. And the guy says, did you learn anything? I says, yeah, but I almost put in a whole new machine. And he said, don't worry about it. It's pennies on the dollar for Sears parts. So as long as you learn, I don't care. Okay. So I got my training and my learning from Sears.
Pops, let's back up. Let's back up, Pops. You're doing
Sure.
yourself an injustice. You're doing yourself a true injustice. Ladies and gentlemen, let me help him help him. Number
Okay.
one, this guy's a patriot, okay? Let's give him his respect. Brother Pete, after you got out of, do you want to say what branch?
Navy.
That's right.
I
Hoorah.
was in
After you got out of the Navy, you went what? Sears?
Sears. Yeah.
Okay, now stop right there. Any military vets, we support them and salute them, but that are watching this and they're like debating. They have, a plethora of things on the table. They're about to get out of the military, and appliance repair is one of the things that they can do. To them, you say what? Being a real vet and being in the industry. To them that are considering joining appliance repair, you say what?
It's a good field to get into. For one thing, you don't have to have a college degree, which will cost you an arm and a leg unless the military is paying for it. So you can go in there. You've already, as a military person, with however many years you've got in, you've got a mindset that's better than most people that are civilians. I mean, a military person has got a work ethic that no one can come close to or touch because we're held responsible. And it's not like, well, we'll just quit and go on. No. Once you sign your paper, you put your little hand up and swear, you're committed to however many years you are. So, to be honest with you, I would always take a service person or an ex-service person for any kind of job because of the fact that they have a personal background that says this guy can be trusted, especially if he got out honorable and all that. Then he's a little bit of a cut above anybody else, in my opinion. But then
Yeah,
I'm
but but,
biased.
but Pops, that's not what I'm asking you though. I'm asking you the gentleman who's like in his fourth year and his term is up and he's debating like, I could make this a lifetime career. I could go civilian. And if
That
I go civilian, these are some of my options. But I've been considering appliance repair. This guy's
uh
been in this guy's been in the Navy. I'm sorry, Air Force. He got out and did a appliance repair. I want you to talk to that guy, that serviceman or woman who's considering this.
well, before you do anything, because I'll give you a personal experience when it came to that. I was getting out after my first tour, 4 years in the service, and I was really strongly thinking about getting out. And unfortunately, what I did in the Navy is not related to anything in the civilian sector. And my skipper took me by the side and he says, look, I don't want you to leave. And I was like, really kind of felt great that he would say that. He says, I'll tell you what I'm going to do because we were on deployment. He says, I want you to go home, see what you got there waiting for you, see all the opportunities that are waiting for you. And if they're good, then don't worry about it. Come back, get all your stuff. We'll check you out, and you're happy to go as a civilian. But if for some reason anything there that you don't feel comfortable and you want to stay in the nav, come on back, open arms, not a problem. And I did that. And in my case at the time, I wasn't even thinking about appliance repair. That was like the furthest thing from my mind. I used to work at the New York Daily News. I was figuring because I went in and I was in the military, the newspaper was going to take me back, no ifs, answer buts, because that was the rule they had. And I was a union worker, so there was like an automatic go back into the place. And all the things I looked around said, go back to the nav. And I did. Now, that's my case.
Then how did you
Anybody
end up in appliance repair though? You still got here somehow.
Well, because of the facts, when I got out of the Navy, like I said, my job in the Navy, I was a sub hunter. Well, there's not many calls for periscopes coming out of toilet bowls and bird baths. So, I didn't have the skill for anything. I didn't have the time to go to college or to anything like that. I'm real good with my hands. I'm a very, very mechanically inclined. I went to one of these job fairs, and there was Sears going, "You want a job?" And I says, "What do I get to do?" And they explained the whole thing, and I said, "Well, you know what? For a starting point, why not? They'll give
That's
me
not
my training."
that's not too shabby. Let's put that into perspective. So you get out of the military, you go to a
Mm-hmm.
job fair. There's
Mm-hmm.
Joe Blow, there's Mary Sue, there's everybody. And off in some corner, you see Sears.
Mm-hmm.
Ta-da! And they give you some packet or some pamphlet and tell you about an opportunities in a fixing appliance repair.
Uh-huh.
Did you did you even know that appliance repair was like a thing? Did you even know, and like what was your
I
understanding or early thoughts of appliance repair?
Well, all I knew about appliance repair was what, anybody else would know, that you go to somebody's house, you try and fix the machine, you either do it or you don't. You either come out looking great or you come out looking stinky. So, I figured I'm mechanically inclined. I know how to work with tools. I know how to fix machines because I love working on machines. I can take apart something, put it back together, and that's all I like to do. Is I'm real good with my mind doing mechanical things. So I figured that would be my best forte, was just to jump into that job. So that's what I did. It.
Now let's shift gears a little bit. So you did that for a while. Um, and listen, I want to bring you back on again, but for tonight, I want to fast forward a little bit and because I want to talk about like your career and the mechanical timers that you were talking about and your experience with them and how electronics came and I would love to like dissect that. But really what I want to talk to you tonight about is what you do now, and what you've done for the majority of your industry tradesman career, and that's warehouse part manager.
Well,
You know,
it
if
base
hold
okay.
on,
What I've done right now is sales.
sales.
No, sales as far as parts are concerned.
Hmm.
And the parts that we sell, or the companies that we sell to, is we sell to Sears, because the Sears guys need parts. So we have parts houses all over. So they come see us. We have one of the major companies out here that does appliance repair. They
Pops,
come to
pops.
see us.
But that's what I don't. But you see, I don't want to do it that easy because you're just saying like what you do. I
Okay.
like, I like to know the mud from the ground up because this is a channel that promotes entrepreneurship, motivation, positiveness. So with all that said, like I like to know the story, and I'm sure that's the real fascinating part. So after you got out of, or how did you go from tech to parts, if you don't mind me asking, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
Because
Well,
I
it's
wait,
real.
stop,
It's real
stop.
easy.
Let me finish.
Okay.
I do, I do, I do repairs. You know,
Hmm.
I set my own schedule. I get up when I want. I go to bed when
Oh
I
yeah.
want. That's a gift and a curse because hey, look, I got home today 8 o'clock p.m. on a Saturday. Let that sit in. So that's not always peaches and cream, but I say what
No,
I.
no.
How did you go from tech where you were with Sears, you had a van, you would take it home, you were doing your thing to like going to the part aspect, or what even drew you to that? I want to know that part.
Well, it's probably a story that Sears probably would not like to hear. And what it is one night, it was a Saturday night, and I'd already put in 10 hours of work, and I had to go drive. They gave me an extra job, and it's like nighttime. It was wintertime. It was raining. I had to go out to the back country, and I was like, no, I ain't gonna do this. It's not something that I feel safe about. I just put it out, and I called the customer, and then I told him, I said, look, here's the situation. I've been at this for over 10 hours. I don't feel comfortable driving all the way up there because it's a hilly 2-lane highway that I've got to drive all the way to the back country. And I said, I can't do it. We'll reschedule. Of course, the customer got all irate, and all it was a dryer situation. It wasn't like a refrigerator. Refrigerator is a different story. People got hundreds of dollars in a refrigerator,
Medicine,
and yeah, so that I
breast milk,
just
breast milk.
Yeah, well, all that stuff, But so I told him that. Well, Monday morning comes in, and I go to work, and I get called right away into the office. And my supervisor starts screaming and yelling at me, and I go, time out. I said, here's the story. And I told him I had 10 hours, it was late, it was raining, and I didn't feel safe. And I keep referring to this word, I did not feel safe. And they started screaming about, well, you need to do that. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. So you're trying to tell me that safety is not an issue? To Mitch Brandon, everybody shut up. They looked at me and they came up and said, but you really have to. No, no, no. You're telling me that safety in your mind is not important. They dropped the whole thing because I basically had them. And I left that whole thing going, you know what? If that's the feeling of this place, that all their matter is to them is money and not my safety, not me being taken care of to do a good job, then why should I work for a company that has that kind of an attitude? So that's why I left Sears. It
And
was
you
a bitter
then you went into the part sales
part-time.
manager.
Yeah.
Okay, now explain that to me. So you go into that now, right? And you sit there and you do that interview. You know, you apply, you sit there in front of the guy, whatever. The guy
Hmm.
knows you know your shit.
Yeah.
The guy
So
knows.
he so
So
he
like you
hired
pretty
he
much
hired me
got the
off the
job.
bat. Yeah. So he
Now,
hired me
now,
right off the bat.
now, now, this is where I really want to like pick at your brain. So now you're on the other side of the, aisle. And I'm sure of this. People may say what they want to say about Sears. And, I'm not an advocate of them, nor am I like an enemy of them. I'm pretty
Hmm.
much new to them. But what I'll tell you is this their text is hit or miss. I've seen guys that are stellar, and I've seen guys that are. But what I'll
Hmm.
say is this, they do have that tech support line, which is called Stack.
Hmm.
Even at
Oh yeah.
that, out of 10 Stack representatives, 8 are sharp. 2 are
Hmm.
like they just want to have a dick measuring contest.
All right.
But I'll say this, the Sears Tech at a minimum is, I'm not gonna say like better, but like at least he got more resources in his arsenal than the average Joe Blow one man single vehicle
Oh yeah.
operator. Cause why? Those guys get like service bulletins when they
Oh
call in
yeah.
support. They get the parts already given to them. Whatever, whatever. But I say all that to say this. Now you're on the other side of the aisle. So now you're, on your first day on the job, and here comes the first appliance repair technician and says to you, Brother Pete, I need a thermal fuse. I got a dryer making noise. I need a thermal fuse. And you're like, dryer making noise, thermal fuse? And now you start dealing with text and you start understanding, you know, um the tech side, but looking at it from, other side of the aisle. What did you get from that? I'm curious.
Well, the first thing that struck me was finding that some of these guys that are somewhat independent or like a little mom and pop outfit, a lot of them just did not know what they were talking about. I mean, I would have a guy would come in, he says, I need a timer for this washer. I said, okay. And the first things that out of your mouth when you do sales for parts is what's your brand name, what's your model number, what's your serial number. That is number one, two, and three of imports. You got to know those three. Oh, but just give me any old timer. I said, no, I can't give you any old timer. They might look all alike, but you turn this to this thing thinking you're in wash and you're in rinse. No.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Did you just say that the guy said, give me any old timer?
Unfortunately,
Well,
yes.
certainly that must have been one technician. That can't be the whole entire industry, right?
No, it's not the whole entire industry, but unfortunately, we have quite a few techs out here that, to be honest with you, I wouldn't trust to save my. I mean, the only way I would recommend them to somebody is because I hate that person like you would not believe. Other than that, no. When I started in Sears, this is just to tell you how I felt about it. My first thought when I went out into the field was this: I will treat every customer as if it's my mother. In other words, I'm not going to screw them. I'm going to give them a good job, and I'm going to take care of them to make it an honest and reasonable bill. I have seen some of these companies that have overcharged so much, it's just ridiculous, Brandon. I mean,
Give
I've
me a
had
story. Give me a story. Give me a story. That does me no good to this channel.
Okay, I had a customer come in and he was in a wheelchair of all things. Came in, handed us this piece of paper and says, "What's the price on this part?" Which I looked up and I don't recall what a price what it was. I think it was a relay or something. It was only like $35 retail. The guy charged him 150, which is like way over the amount, and he charged him like $500 for the repair work, which wasn't what you would call charged to take a relay, flip a whirlpool control panel up over, take the relay out, put the relay in, connect the wires, and this boy came out of there with all that money and he ripped off this guy.
Yo, brother Pete, the other day I got on here on my first episode and I said something. I said, I know guys that are charging like $400 to do a 3-in-1.
That's
Do
ridiculous.
you see that though as the salesman?
Oh yeah. I get a lot of calls from people that once I tell them what it is, and I usually try and talk to the person, and a lot of my coworkers think I shouldn't do this, but when they're in there trying to figure out how to do it themselves, I tell them flat out, I says, "How mechanically inclined are you?" And they go, "Well, I'm pretty good." I says, "You have to be, because you got to understand you're going to be doing something that might be over your head. But if you're willing to do it, best thing to do is go onto YouTube. There's God knows how many videos. Just don't pick the first one. Watch a bunch of them, get a general idea of how to fix it, and go from there. If you can't do it, I got a list of technicians that we recommend, because when we recommend these guys, they call us back and they said, "Hey, this guy that you told me to use, he was great, he was honest, he was fair, blah, blah, blah." So we keep a running record of these guys, just so that when I get a customer that says, "I need a good tech," I know who to recommend.
Let me ask
So
you this. Do you get solicited a lot by text? Like, hey man, tell people about me. Do you get that a lot?
I get a few, but you know what? It doesn't make a difference to me, because I'm not going to solicit you unless I know who you are, and I know what kind of, because I'm putting my name on the line,
That's
you
true.
know. And I'm not going to do that. I've had people, when I went from one company to another, follow me. And the companies were kind of not too wild with me on one thing, because I'm one of these kind of people that I'm going to try and help you the best I can, whether it means I make a sale or not, because that's not important to me about making the sale. What's important to me is to make sure that I got a customer that if he has an issue or a problem, he's going to go, "Well, Pete helped me out on that. I'm going to go back and see him because that man knows what he's talking about." So that's better, because from there I will always get somebody to come back over and over, buy stuff from us, and be able to know with confidence that I'm not going to rip him off or do something wrong.
Do you get a lot of calls from texts that try to pick at your brain?
Oh yeah, oh, yeah. The thing though with the newer equipment, there's nothing to pick there, because I've never worked on the new equipment. So and I'll be quite frank with them and tell them it's way over my head. You got something that's in the era that I used to work on, not a problem. I will help you out. But if it's something that has to do with electronics, forget it. I don't know.
Let me address that, Pop. You know, I'm an advocate of circuitry, electronics, and all of that.
Hmm.
I say that in every episode. Pops, you've known me for a while now, and you know that I've
Well,
always marched to this tune. But wait, if I may,
okay.
and when I hear you talk about like those timers and those mechanical stuff, there's guys that watch my channel that are still active repairmen who probably get calls daily like, hey, I have a whirlpool direct drive.
Mm-hmm.
I have Calypso. I have all the old washers and stuff and
Right.
dryers, stuff like that. And those guys were probably eating like fat cats.
Oh yeah.
But then all of a sudden, here comes electronics, and that switched up the game, and that opened up a whole new market. Now, some people saw that as uh, a direction of the industry going towards something negative, but some people saw that as a positive, where like if I learn electronics and I learn circuitry and I learn how to use a voltmeter, I could probably make a very good penny because I could offer something that a lot of people can't. To that
Let
you
me
say, well,
let me say one thing because you brought out a point, and I was going to say that before, but I need to tell you now. Out of all the techs I've ever met, you're the only one that I can actually ask, okay, what is Ohm's law? How do you handle a voltmeter? Show me how you do this. How do you do that? How do you do that? Nobody that I've ever met can actually sit there and probably teach me more about a voltmeter than I know than you. So,
that pops.
and that's the thing that you need to do and know when you're troubleshooting any machine, because they all have a wiring schematic on there. So all you got to do is trace it out, use a voltmeter, and you can troubleshoot anything as long as you know how to use a voltmeter. That's
Yeah.
it. And there are so many guys out there, Brandon, I kid you not, that do not know. All they know is how to do continuity. That's it. Like your
And you know
continuity,
what?
that's it.
A lot of people don't even notice about voltmeters, right? But like that continuity function, um that only is limited up to a certain amount of ohms. After
Hmm.
that, it will read open.
Yeah.
So guys will check the misters that have resistances of like 11.5 kilo ohms,
Uh-huh.
but they'll have it on the continuity setting and get an OL and say, oh, it's an open thermistor. Nah,
Yeah.
bro, you got to change that setting. And let me put this out there too. The difference between continuity and resistance, I like to consider it like this. Continuity just tells me that I have a straight point from A to B, but
Right.
resistance tells me how far is A to B. But
Exactly.
we're not here to teach, and we just here to get an understanding of the industry and the shape of it. But
Hmm.
do you see a hope for the industry? Because I'm promoting this whole agenda, and not just myself, because I don't want to take not even a portion of the credit of it, because there's so many guys pushing this campaign of you
Uh-huh.
know professionalism, circuitry, schematic reading, theory, a true understanding of our appliance repair. And
Uh-huh.
what do you think like the current state is of the industry from your side of the aisle, which is behind the counter saying, welcome to blank, blank, blank. What can I do for you? What do you think
Yeah.
our industry, what shape we're in?
Well, unfortunately, the government's gotten into it to the point that everything has got to be computerized. And great example is this, Speed Queen. Speed Queen has a very good machine. Up to just recently, they finally had to get rid of their full mechanical washer because of the fact that the government said you won't put a computer in the thing. They have a machine now. It's real simple, real low expense, beautiful machine. Doesn't have a lot of computer, but enough to get by with the fact that the government says mandated you will put a computer. Um, that's fine. But the problem is when you put too much computerized things in there, it really kind of like makes it. Here's a good example. GE has got a motherboard that they stick into a refrigerator, a computer board that's totally exposed to the cold, damp weather inside of a refrigerator. And when we used to sell them, we didn't get them by maybe 5 or 6 boxes of the things coming in per month from General Electric. We got them by the pallet full. The pallet full. And they kept on trying to change the board over and over because they would come up with this one to replace it. Nah, had problems. Let's go to a different one. Nah, that problems. Let's go to another one. And you don't have enough people out there that are enough electronic savvy to be able to figure this out. Because, like I said, you have to know a voltmeter. You've got to know your wiring schematic. It's not like the good old days of a belt drive where you didn't need to. You just knew everything by mechanical. So
But
in
you
a way,
know,
it's a blessing. It's a blessing because of the fact that, okay, it is more economical, more water saving, more energy saving. But you know what? When a customer has a machine break, it's more costly because that computerized part brings up the cost way up.
well, how much were you guys charging in back in the days for a motor coupler?
It was $35 when I was in Sears to walk through the door, and I believe a coupler probably job was about 70.
But this was in what year?
This was 18 years ago.
So give me like the equivalent, like in as far as like what was that $80 worth in today? Like a $200?
I would say it's probably doubled, if not more. Then again, it also depends on what tech you got. I mean, you got a fly by night outfit that wants to, suck up the money. It's going to be more expensive. I've had customers that call me up and they say, this guy overcharged me. And I said, okay, well, what was the issue? He says, well, it was a thermal fuse, and he was only in there for 15 minutes, not even 15 minutes, and he was in and out of there, and he charged me like $150 for a thermal fuse. And I says, well, let me put something to you this way. The price was cheap for the part, but you know what you really paid for? You paid for the fact that this guy knew enough that he walked through the door, went to the machine, kicked it on. Within 5 minutes, he knew what the problem was. He resolved it, put in a new part, and he was out at the door. That's what you're paying the high price for.
She's lucky I didn't look at her and tell her to her face, ma'am, you lucky I'm not charging you more. I'm that gifted and I'm that good, love, peace, and harmony, and in the name of
Yeah.
humility, that I was able to go to that schematic. And you know what? Within a matter of seconds, by tracing out circuitry and diagrams, I found your problem. Now that you
Yeah.
want a changing individual out here that's gonna rip apart the dryer, have all the parts scattered along the living
Oh,
room,
yeah.
4 hours to then tell you, oh, it'll be $140. Man, you got the wrong individual.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell folks that says if they're fast in and out of there and you've got a machine that works now, doesn't make a difference how much he charged you. He's got experience. That's what you're paying for. You're
Or
paying for the fact that
if
he
not,
knows what he's doing.
if not, the other alternative is quite simple.
I've had
Go
enough horror stories that I've had a guy that goes in there.
and purchase another one.
Yeah. Well, I've had stories that customers have told me the guy came in here, looked it around the darn thing, didn't even run it long enough, and he says, this is it, without tearing it apart. And I go, really? So he knew what it was without tearing it apart. And then he tells me, then I got somebody else, and he went in there and he took it apart and he knew what it was and fixed it right then and there. I says, well, that will show you. That's the difference between someone that knows what they're doing and not. So, yeah, might cost a little bit more with the guy that knows what he's doing, but he knows what he's doing. So,
Let's switch gears. Let's talk about parts.
okay.
What the hell is going on with Whirlpool and all these manufacturers and these core chargers? What the hell is going on with these core chargers?
Well, they all they want to do is make sure they got the part back so they can redo it. So they put a $60 core charge, or I think it's General Electric is 50. Hold on, I'm not certain. I think they're probably now 60, but Whirlpool is definitely 60 across the board. You got a board, they want it back. You give us $60 back. We $60 for us to make sure that you come back, and I'll give you your $60 back, and we can send the core back to Whirlpool, and they can fix it and put it right back in the same box.
Now, what do you what you no one would know this better than you, but what happened to the golden age when one would go into an appliance repair part house and say, "Hey, let me get 15 Subco thermal fuses for $1.25 each." Now you got to go in there
I
and
can.
spend bucks on the Whirlpool OEM, which is, listen, I'm an advocate of OEM and all of this and all of that. But sometimes you need some subcoats to get you out of some jams where, yeah,
You
talk
see what
about
I'm doing?
it. Yeah,
Money.
talk
Okay,
about it.
when Subco, we were selling Subco. Everybody that I knew was selling Subco. All the companies that I've worked for, they've all sold Subco. Then Whirlpool said, "Uh-oh, you know what, guys? We're not making money. Why? Because you can go and buy a Subco thermal fuse for only $1, and a technician will pay $1, but when it comes to RF fuse, it's $6. Let's see. How am I going to make more money? If I buy the Sepco part at $1, or do I buy the original Whirlpool part at $6? The customer don't know the difference. The part more than likely is the same thing. It's just a thermal fuse. So Whirlpool came out and said to all the people that buys their parts that are supplied by Whirlpool, you either sell our parts only, or we will cut you off where you can no longer buy Whirlpool parts.
The,
And
the,
that's
the,
what
industry,
happened.
the industry went wrong there. They should have called Whirlpool's bluff and said, you know what, we ain't selling shit. Pardon me, because that I don't like to curse on my channel because I curse in real life, but I think of like
Yeah.
kids and stuff like that. But you know what? They should have called Whirlpool's bluff, and here's why. Whirlpool needs us to buy their stuff. Like at the end of the day, if we would have said no to them, who else was gonna sell their stuff?
Yeah.
Think about it. But you know what they did? They imposed their will and took away Subco and OEM and ERPs. Man, sometimes those things get you out of a jam, man.
Oh yeah.
I tell you what, I'll say this about them. They're not like the best in everything, but some things they make are good, like their thermal fuses. I don't really have no problems with them. Their their motor couplers, their heater elements. But then
Uh,
some
I,
of their stuff sucks.
oh
I'm a
yeah. I'll
other
give you
stuff.
a good example of this suck. Whirlpool has a tune-up kit for the old dryers. Gives you the rollers, the belt, and the idler pulley arm. I
Mhm.
bought a Subco that we were selling. I put it in my machine. Now my machine is old. It's Harvest Gold. That goes back to the good old days of avocado.
Oh man,
So
harvest.
I keep that old girl running because all it does is turn and burn, and that's all you need a dryer to do. I put that thing on. Well, my dryer, the drum, doesn't have the little fin that you attach on. It's the fin is part of the drum, and the arm was not right. Every time the arm actually rode on the drum, so it would go pump 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 because of the fact it would go and hit that thumb. Went out and I brought it back to the store and I says, "Take this piece of shit out of here." Got the Whirlpool one, put it in there. No, did I lose you?
Nah, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Corky. Right.
Okay, so I put the Whirlpool one in there, work like a champ. So I can see some of the reasons, but like you said, when it comes to a thermal fuse where it's something to have handy because you might run, I mean, how many calls do we get that my dryer's not drying and all is a thermal fuse? You throw one in there, they're pretty good. They're not. Coils. I don't know of any company that makes a whole bunch of different. Man, Lou. Oh, decline. Sorry, I had somebody was trying to call me.
It's all good, pops. Go ahead.
Huh?
It's all good. Go ahead. You were
Okay,
talking about.
so I guess I need to hit this. Okay, there we go. Because
You were
my
talking.
picture is jumping jittery right now.
You were.
Um,
You were talking about coils.
right. Well, I don't know if is there a company because they're all the same to me. I mean, you look at coils, they're all the same. And Whirlpool uses them, Frigidaire uses them, General Electric uses them. Is there one company that makes them and then they just roll down and go into a bag that says Whirlpool and GE or Frigidaire?
Pops, you need to hit the camera button, pops.
I'm hitting it, but my screen is bouncing up and down.
I think you've had one. I think you've had a lot of. I think shop talk is taking a toll on you. What are you drinking?
No, wait. I'm just having a beer. Okay, now the thing unlit itself. Oh, you know
Unli-
what it is? Is somebody trying to call me?
well, then hit it. Hit reject, pops.
I
You,
did.
the YouTube community, we need you right now. We were talking about
Okay.
some oils, and we were talking about OEM versus Subco, and we were in the appliance repair world. But I lost you.
Right. I can still hear you and see you. Can you at least hear me?
Definitely could hear you, but we'd love to see you.
All right. Well, I don't know what to tell you unless you want to try and start. Wait, well, start this all over or what?
I would tell you is if you tap your screen on the bottom, you're gonna see three options. Press
Right.
the
I
can.
I
Press the can.
have. Okay. I've got the microphone all white. I've got the camera with a line
That's
going through it.
that's the hit that, hit that, hit that.
I am hitting it.
Look, take your time though. Let it respond. So just go boop and back up and let it, But if you keep tapping it, you're turning it on, off, on, off.
Okay.
So if that didn't work, now tap it again.
Okay. Hang on a second. I got company. Hang on a minute.
Shop Talk, episode 6. This
Yeah.
is, part of the industry. Sometimes things go left, man. But
Yeah, unfortunately, due to
we're gonna
technical error with an old man that does not
we're-
know how to handle modern
yeah.
technology.
They had one beer and fell apart.
I didn't even have half a beer. Jeez, I'd hate to see
Oh
what
man,
happens if I had 2 beers.
oh, man, pops, you should come hang out with me, man. Hey, do you like holistic?
Do I like what?
What do you feel on what's your ideal on let's switch lines altogether and we'll come back to appliance repair.
Okay.
What do you think the government should do as far as marijuana? Should they legalize it or not?
It's legal here in California. So, I can smoke it anytime I want to here.
What's up with the rest of the country, man? Weirdos.
You well, Seattle has it. You can. Matter of fact, they have a lot of smoke-ins up in Seattle where even the cops are hanging out, and they give out bags of popcorn and potato chips so that all those that are getting high have something to munch out on.
Well, fortunately, I don't smoke weed, brother Pete. I smoke holistic. So, with
Oh,
that
okay.
said, jump back into appliance repair. So, you were talking about coils. What about coils?
Well, to me, I look at the coils that they're all the same, but yet you have Frigidaire that costs cheap. You got Whirlpool that costs a little bit more. GE costs way more than everybody else. It's the
So
same
you're talking
coil.
about the
I
dryer.
said what?
You're talking about the dryer coils,
Yeah, yeah.
the little the
The two little
gas.
cylindrical things, the black thing. One's got 2 males, the other one's got 3.
Yeah, Frigidaire has the cheapest one, and they work on any one of them.
Yeah. Oh, it's the same thing. Brandon, I think it's one factory that makes them all and puts them in a bag.
Listen, I'll tell the YouTube community this. I did an Embraco the other day. It was one. It was a standard 134A, 120. You know, standard Embraco. But if you put it in the Sears Parts Direct and they
Yeah.
give the Whirlpool part number of it, the same Embraco that's in the Whirlpool box costs like 382. But if the same number you put it in like Google and you find the Embraco version of it, it's like 120. What's up with Whirlpool? But you know what? I'm not even gonna beat up Whirlpool tonight. You know who are the real crooks? GE.
Oh yeah.
Holy cow.
I call them generally expensive.
Jesus. When is enough with these guys?
Hang
Frigidaire
on.
is okay.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm doing an interview. Skype. I got a matter of fact. I got a friend of mine who's a technician who just dropped by. He's Filipino and he dropped by some monkey meat for me, so I'm a happy camper.
Tell him to subscribe to our channel. We welcome him. He's amongst his brothers.
Okay. So anyway, so you were saying though that the Whirlpool and the Embraco, they're basically the same. I don't think Whirlpool makes its own compressors. They go to everybody else. I mean,
You're not listening to me.
what's that?
Literally, when you open the Whirlpool box and
Yeah.
you remove the compressor, it is an Embraco
Yeah.
with the model number, part number of the Embraco on the label. You can measure the lock, amp,
Mm-hmm.
all the specification, one phase, or all the label will match the same Embraco with the same part number, but in that white and blue box of Embraco
Yeah.
rather than Whirlpool one,
Yeah.
and it will be like $200 cheaper.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Now, let me ask you this: returns. I'm sure you see it all. I'm sure
Oh
you
God,
see
yes.
that goes in there time after time after time after time after time. And for a while, this was acceptable. I fortunately for me, I could say I'm old school enough, wink wink, old school enough that I could remember when the return policy, they weren't really that stringent on returning electronics. But why did they become so tight about it? And when did you see that like really affecting like sales and how technicians went about doing appliance repair?
Okay, you're gonna have to run through that because I had a technical difficulty for a second now. What was that about? Bringing back parts?
Okay, I was talking about returns.
Uh huh. Mm-hmm.
What I was saying is that I remember being at least old enough that I was from the old school where they weren't that strict about returning electrical parts. Like you tried a board, it didn't work, you would go back, it wasn't no biggie. But then I started seeing them like, tightening up in the industry of like, if you open it up and you use it and it's electronics, you're gonna eat that part. How
Yep.
did you when you started seeing that, how did you start seeing techs respond to that? And what did you see the industry do in
Oh,
response to these supply houses becoming a lot stricter with the return policy?
well, obviously they did not like it because of the fact they couldn't bring it back. I mean, that's a given. They were not happy campers of the fact, well, I can't bring it back now. No. And they've gotten to the point now that policy is even on the receipt that says it's an electrical part, you buy it, you own it. End of discussion. There is no way of bringing it back. And I've had a lot of people that come back and they come back with a valve and they say, well, I didn't use it. I go, sir, and then I pull out my flashlight and I go under the males and you can see the scratch marks. I didn't use it. That must have been on the factory. So, you know what we actually do
Is
to
there
prove him
is there
wrong?
Let me ask you a question because this is shop talk, and I ask difficult questions to my guests, but it's not too difficult, pops. But let me ask you something. Is there a way to get around that? I heard if you sandpaper it, like if you scratch the surface down,
You're gonna
you won't.
scratch. You get the sandpaper will scratch it too. But
Yeah, but you see
here's the way we get around it though. With
how
a
do you get around that?
Well, I've had a lot of guys that come back with a valve. So you know what we have? We actually have a little piece of wood that's got all this electronics on there, like electricity, voltmeters, and all that. So we take the valve, we hit it with 120 volts of electricity, and guess what? There's still water in that valve, even though you clean it and it squirts water out. And then we go, oh, how did it get water in there if you didn't install it and try it out?
Damn, that's crazy.
Oh, we'll challenge everybody, whether
Damn.
they be retail or they be techs. And some of the techs, we definitely challenge them because of the fact that they get a reputation after a while, and we know which tech we can trust and which tech we can't.
Let me
So,
ask you this. I'm taken back on the craftsmanship and the level of pride that companies like Samsung and LG sell their parts. One
yeah.
time, listen to me. One time, Wait. Again, tonight's shop talk is a little edgy. I'm feeling a little rough tonight. I'm a little
Okay.
pissed with the industry, so I'm using a little language that I typically don't use. But pops, do you know what the real definition of a scumbag is? The real definition?
Well, let's put it this way. Are you talking about in physical sense that you
Yeah, the
use have a
physical thing.
bag to stick in, you know, that sort of thing in there? Yeah.
No, I'm talking
Or are you talking
about a
about the
scum.
way the person is?
No, I'm talking about a scumbag, pops. A physical, condom that
Yeah.
the scum. Yeah, I'm talking about like. What was I
You can
talking
also
about?
call him a douchebag, and it's the same thing.
Yeah, but where are we going with this?
I
This for
don't know.
this?
You're the one that brought it up.
No, but we're talking about something. Um,
We're talking about people that bring back parts that are so horrible they try and rip you off by scamming you to get their money back when in
no,
reality they were wrong.
no. We weren't talking about that. We were talking about Samsung and LG. Pops,
Oh, oh,
I've had Samsung sell me valves that look like they were literally in scumbags.
oh, yeah.
That's where I was going with the scumbag referendum.
Oh,
You
I
know,
mean,
they
yeah.
they give you your stuff horrible. At least
Well,
Whirlpool is gonna charge me an arm and a leg, but you know what? At a minimum, right? It's all about the showmanship.
you ever
Okay,
work with Uline?
pops, hear me out though. This is a very important thing I'm about to say.
Okay,
At a minimum, I get a Whirlpool ice maker. At a minimum. The DQ472Q, the standard.
706Q.
Yeah, that one right there. Yup. Pops, at a minimum. Or that white box with the blue letters. I open it up. I have an array of options. The customer sees all that stuff, and it's all about the showmanship. It's
Yeah,
all about, wow. It's all about the customer getting that like experience of like having a professional enter their home and
yeah,
with box cutter open it up and
yeah,
remove the ice maker and put the old one next to it, and they see the Teflon all ripped up. It justifies the bill. But then
yeah.
here comes Samsung and LG and scumbags. Pardon my French. What's up with that? What's their deal? Why do they
Uh,
sell their parts like that?
well, I'll give you another example. Uline. Uline doesn't have a bag. You know what they do? They buy a whole bunch of Ziploc bags and they stick the part into a Ziploc bag. And that's how we used to sell them at one of the parts houses I worked at, in a
Savage.
Ziploc bag. So, and
Savage.
then some of them don't even do that. Brown Newtone, some of their stuff was we would just go motors, and this is the part number of this motor, and you had a box full of motors that were all loose. So yeah, some companies take a little pride in their stuff, some companies don't. But you got to remember, sometimes with some of these companies, they're looking at the bottom line and money. So
Yeah,
being a
man. You
scumbag
know
and
what?
putting in a
Yeah,
scumbag, yeah, well,
whoa.
I'm just trying to give you their point of view because I know
Yeah,
you're.
and I hope that they're watching this. You know what kind of injustice you do me? That man, I take the time out, I wash my van, I make sure that it's clean. I take
Yeah,
a shower, I'm suited
yeah,
and booted. Pops, I even buttoned the last button on my work uniform.
yeah,
Like I'm a professional's professional. I'm in shop
right.
talk now, drinking. I'm outside of work, but when it's work time, I'm on go mode. But you know what it is that I show up and you give me a raggedy part with a scumbag. I've had people even ask me like, "Is this thing new?"
Yeah,
So I understand their thing about a bottom line, but like you're putting the technician at an injustice because like, man, at least at a minimum, you buy something from Amazon, you buy a box of Q-tips for 99 cents. The
yeah.
box that it comes in is probably worth more than the 99 cents. My thing is, man, invest a little bit into the box at a minimum.
Well,
You throw that in the back of your van and you driving, and by the time you get there, you can't find it because it's all over. Long story, but I don't like that,
grab the
and I think a
lemons.
lot of technicians would
Grab
agree with
the
me.
lemons. Well, here's another thing that you're and I don't want to make it sound mean by saying this, but you're talking to the choir here. I understand your point, but you know what? You can complain to me all you want about the fact of how they are, But yeah, but I'm not the one that you're going to have to deal with because I'm, like I said, I'm part of the choir, and I can't tell you why Whirlpool or any of the other brands do this sort of thing. You have to talk to them and say, hey, I have a reputation to keep. For me, when I walk into why don't you guys do that? You're
Yeah.
talking about this in Shop Talk now,
Fuck
right?
that.
This is a point that you should bring out to all those listeners of Shop Talk and say, hey, I'm going through this problem. You probably are going through this problem too. You get this raggedy ass part in a bag that looks like crap, and my customer thinks that I pulled this thing out of my truck because it's been sitting
Yeah.
there 500 years. Right,
Yeah. And then you got to show them the invoice. Like, no, look,
right,
this is what it
right.
is.
But so the thing is, all you guys need to do is get a hold of Whirlpool and say, can you do something to rectify this? Or LG or
Why do you
Samsung,
think
whoever.
Whirlpool is not the enemy tonight?
Well, I'm
They,
just using them as a name.
I say this about Whirlpool, man. I think they got their act together as far as their parts, you know.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
they do.
but at Frigidaire, they got their stuff together. Even
General
G,
Electric does.
yeah,
Well,
even
GE is now being taken over by Frigidaire.
I thought they were being purchased by Hire.
No, you're right. It's higher. I thought it was Frigidaire because I heard it was used to be
There's
GE. Now
Electrolux.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
There's Electrolux. All right, finally, we got 3 minutes left, man. Listen,
Okay.
I want to thank you for coming on here tonight. You gave us
Oh,
an abundance of insight, an abundance of behind the scenes, day to day experiences that a salesman goes through. But I
no.
want to leave you the floor now, and I want to
Okay.
let you. Do you have anything that you want to promote? Are you doing music? Do you have a kid with a Fortnite handle that you want to promote them? Does your wife do like I
No,
don't know,
I'm
quilting?
I'm
Anything you
single.
want to
I'm
get out,
single now, and I'm just
promote?
a happy camper.
But if anything you want to promote is what I'm saying. Now's your chance. Because
Okay. No, I'm cool. I'm cool. So, but I wish you all the luck with what you're doing because you know what? I think this is a great thing that you're doing this because number one, it brings out to other people who might want to get into this kind of business an idea of what it's like because it's like anything else. Going into a dark room, you have no clue what's going on. Now, if you put a little bit of a light so you can see what's in that room, people will walk in there confidently knowing what's going on. You're doing that for us. You're doing that for people that want to try and see this trade. So
I'm
you're
trying.
giving them the opportunity to hear out from people like myself, from hear out from the guys that you've had in all the other episodes, so that they can get an idea and they can weigh it out and say, is that truly the life for me or not? So I think this is a great thing you're doing, and I'm really proud of the fact that a long time ago you walked into my store, and instead of kicking you in the little ass and telling you to go to hell with yourself, I took you under my wing and took care of you. So,
That's a
son,
fact.
you take
That's a
care.
that's a real fact. That's a real fact. Listen, now I gotta like try to like to get a guest. It's like people that I know, people who mean
Hmm.
something to me, like
Yeah.
people with. But I really got faith in this thing, and I really think that it's gonna continue.
Well,
But I'll tell you,
I wish
I,
you all the best, and I hope God looks down upon this thing as a great venture for you to go into.
listen, I'm gonna tell you this. What I will do is always continue to keep the banner alive of, professionalism, being a true technician,
Yeah.
respecting your craft,
Uh huh.
continuing to seek education,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna continue to promote that.
Okay. That's good. That's great.
Yo, pops, I love you. Thank you for being on the show with me. All right.
Hey, thank you for asking me. I really
Hey,
appreciate it.
listen, I have my real pops on here. You should check him out. He was the episode 4. He was the TV repairman. That was
Uh
my real pops. Yeah.
huh. Okay.
You my appliance repair pops.
All right. Okay.
Right?
All
You be
right. Well,
safe
you.
out there in Cali. I'm gonna come visit you soon.
Okie dokie. I'll look forward to it. You give me a buzz.
Take care, Pops.
All right.
Shop
Bye-bye
Talk.
now.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for another episode of Shop Talk. Hit the smash button for like. Please share. Please, let's get the word out. You know, I'm doing everything. I'm doing warranty
This kid
people.
is
I'm doing
Brandon.
technicians.
He's a
I'm
tech
doing
that used to be here. And what it is that he's doing. You still there?
I'm talking about it. You listening?
Oh, okay. No, I got, like I said, I got my friend over here, so I was just trying to explain what's going on. So anyway, I'll let you go because I take
Take
it
care.
we're done.
Yep, we're done, man. I'm just saying
Okay.
bye. Say bye to YouTube, man.
All
Say
right.
bye.
Well, Brandon, you take care,
No, no, no,
and
no.
I'll.
You gotta say bye to YouTube. You gotta
Oh,
say
okay.
bye.
Bye,
Bye, all the
YouTube.
audience.
To all you people out there. Bye bye.
Take care,
All right.
guys. Shop
Take.
Talk.
All right. Bye.
Stay tuned. Next episode. Bye.